Welcome, welcome, welcome to Basketball Heads Live. I'm your host, Glenn Poole Harding. And tonight, we have a very special guest. One day, while at school, I began talking to one of our contracted bus drivers about New York City basketball. I asked him if he knew who won the most city championships in New York City. This basketball answered, yes, my school. Your school. The legendary DeWitt Clinton High School. I was like, whoa, I was blown away. Plus, he played from 1966 to 1969. This was during the era where they already had won 13 of their 18 city championships. Again, I was blown away. Who knew? This is why we have to treat people with respect, because you never know who you're speaking to. Also found out he was a shooting guard capable of filling it up whenever he wanted to. You know, we call him people a walking bucket. And he also was very creative around the basket. This basketball head also played at Megar during the 70s. Without further ado, help me welcome to the show, DeWitt Clinton great and Megar standout, my guy, A.J. West.
Y'all ready?
Y'all ready?
Yes. You have just stepped out into the world of chaos. Where everybody goes hard. Come on. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Or go home. Never back down. You gotta hold your own. Go hard. 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 East Coast. Go hard. West Coast. Go hard. Midwest. Go hard. Dirty. Hurry up, everybody. Get online, buy your tickets, cause the game about to start.
What's up, my guy?
What's up?
Oh, man, y'all, let me tell you, man, it's a pleasure, man. I know we get to hang out and kick it every day, man, but, yo, this is a pleasure me having you on my show, Wes.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I was telling my guy, resident artist, Jamel Powell. Turn it down a little bit, man.
What's up, Jamal?
Turn it down a little bit. He said, what's up? He said, what's up, Jamel? You heard? He can't hear me. He's in the zone. And I'm not allowed to turn around and look at, you know, this artwork that he had for you, man. So we want to make sure you done up right.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's funny how I heard J. Cole walk to the bus. It was like, yo, I didn't know you played for DeWitt Clinton. Yo, he was just walking around all day and saying, yo, I didn't know he was nice like that. I was like, man, you never know. You're looking at someone in their older years. You're not looking at him as he was once your age.
A kid, yeah, a child.
Yes. Kids,
16 year old going on 17.
Like you was born that way.
Well, they all think that we just dropped here on Earth.
There you go.
They don't know that we all had a history.
That's right, man. And we're about to get into your history right now, man. Who introduced you to the game, Wes?
Well, I don't know if you remember back in the projects, they used to have celebrities come and give inspirational talk. And Roy Campanella came to my project, and I was really more interested in baseball. I was a standout in baseball. And he watched us play, and he was getting an all-star team together, and he chose me. And back then, I had attitude problems.
Okay.
And he sat me down, and he told me to, you know, that if you're ever going to make it in sports, you got to check that attitude.
Yeah.
Because there's no I in team. And it resonated with me, and he took me around to the different projects that he visited, and, you know, he got his team together, and, you know, I learned from him. I mean, that was the first time that, you know, a male in a wheelchair because he was a paraplegic, took an interest in me because I, grew up without a dad, but my uncle was a big influence, but, he had to work. He had a family to support. So Roy Campanella took me under his wing, toured me around, and introduced me to several other athletes. And, that's how I got it.
That's awesome. How many people can say that? A pro athlete took the time out of their day to take an interest in a kid in the neighborhood and show them the right way. My interview last night with Phil Grant, Paul Robeson great, and Iona great, he also started out as a baseball player, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first sport,
we was all Willie Mays fans.
Yeah, the first sport I ever played on, first team sport I played on was a baseball team. Then it was football, then it was basketball. So a lot of us came from different sports and then kind of fell in love with the game that ultimately won us over.
Yeah. Well, back at that time, they had Elgin Baylor, Will Chamberlain, Connie Hawkins, so those were big influences on me. And, living right across the bridge, because I could walk to Rucker Park from my house.
Wow.
And watching them play, I said, I can do that. So, as I got older and developed the skill, I went for it.
Now, what was you there? That legendary day when Dr. J played, when everybody was like on the roofs to the school that was behind 155th and on the fences. It's just this picture, this iconic picture that would never leave my head. That's when Dr. J was out there. Was you out there?
No, but we used to have a place we played at called Kennedy Center. And that was on 135th Street, right off 5th Avenue.
Yeah.
And we used to go there in the mornings and run scrimmages. And he showed up there one morning. I didn't know who he was. I saw this scrawny kid with this wild afro. And, I said, I could go at him, and we went. We dealt.
Really?
We dealt, but I didn't know who he was, he had just graduated, so he was on his way to Massachusetts.
Wow.
And I held my own. So, I knew I had game, but my game, I was always a shooter. That's what my purpose was.
Yeah.
And shooters never die. So when I went to DeWitt Clinton coming behind Tiny Archibald, they needed a shooter, and so I fit the mold, and there I was.
Listen, I don't think people really get how crazy this is. You were the backup behind Tiny. And listen, I found out from you that Tiny only played 1 year high school basketball.
Yes, he did.
What was going on, AJ?
Well, athletes coming up, we had to keep our grades up. And, Tiny coming from Patterson Projects, me coming from Millbrook Houses, troubled area, and he had a brother that was better than he was.
So I heard.
The streets consumed him. So Tiny, went to high school, chose DeWitt Clinton because of the legacy behind it. And he excelled, And fortunately, I watched him play. He had the sweetest left-hand jump shot around. And I remember him telling me, if you want to be an asset and different from the other guards, learn how to shoot with both hands.
Wow.
So that's what I started doing. I dribbled left, shot right, and then when they concentrated on the right, I shot left.
Wow. And what years did you play?
66.
66 to 69?
1966. Yeah.
Wow.
Nobody was coming behind Archibald.
Man, listen,
yeah.
Bro, I wasn't even born yet, okay? And you guys was putting in work. Wow.
Yes, we was.
And you from the Bronx, right?
Yes.
From the Bronx. And at that time, was Tiny the best player in the neighborhood, or was somebody else?
Well, Tiny was the best player coming out of Patterson Projects. We had some pretty good players too. We had a guy named Eugene Oliver. He was a 6'6" forward that had game, and he went to Massachusetts with Julius.
Really?
And yeah, and he played. He played. He was a awesome ball player. And I remember before he went to college, we used to be on the basketball courts going at it because he taught me how to dunk. You know, so you know, my game, I tried to pattern it after him, his inside game. But, you know, me being 5'10", you know, you got to have a sweet jump shot.
Yeah, look,
you know,
and you got to have something with your handle to keep the guys off you, right? With the guys smothering you, be on top of you, you got to find some way to kind of, you know, get that jump shot off.
Well, the jump shot opened everything up. You shoot the jumper, they pull up on you, then your basket's all yours. You go in for the drive.
Definitely.
We had to live on the foul line.
Wow. So, who was the main guy that you looked up to and patterned your game after outside the guys in the neighborhood?
Well, I patterned my game after Jerry West.
Now,
West Virginia.
Give the youngsters just an idea, like who Jerry West was. You know, he's the logo of the NBA, but we never saw him play.
Okay, Jerry West was a scrawny little white boy from West Virginia who dedicated his life to working on the jump shot. His inside game got better as he got older. And when he was going into first division basketball and going to college, he learned how to get to the basket, but his jump shot was the key. Everybody keyed up on him. He was hitting three-pointers before three-pointers was even in the game. And he had an awesome left hand because he could go either way. And once you pulled up on him, that's when he made his move to the basket. But he was an awesome scorer. I mean, I tried to pattern my jump shot after him. I even have his name.
You did right, because he was a walking bucket, man. Walk into the gym and cough up the ball, and it goes in.
That's right.
Just looking at his stats and some of the highlights, he was a very, very incredible player.
Yeah. Everybody patterned their game, you know. After Julius Erving, Wilt Chamberlain, I chose my game after Jerry West because he had my last name.
I was just about to say that.
I had to do it right.
It all works. It all works.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I had to do them right.
How was the social climate back then in New York City during those time when you was coming up?
Well, prejudice was big everywhere, especially in the South Bronx, because when I moved into my neighborhood in 1959, there was a cultural divide and a cultural change. My area was mostly Jewish. And I don't know if you remember that a lot of the stores during my time wasn't like the stores today. No. They had sawdust on the floor. Yeah. You can go in there and the eggs were out on display. Yeah. You can go and pick your eggs. They had the barrel of pickles. So whatever you wanted, you picked it up, you put it in your cart, you brought it to the front, and you paid for it. And the guy that was, you know, an influence on me his name was Sal Fisher. He owned the grocery store. And he took the scrawny little kid with an attitude problem, and he gave me my first job, and that was packing bags.
Wow.
And he told me that, you know, it's not about color.
That's right.
It's not about color. It's about your value as a man, your word. And it was from that Jewish man that I got to emulate and give my word. I don't give my word to anybody. You know, people just throw it out. Yeah, I'll do it. I'm not like that. If I tell you I'll give you my word, it gets done.
That's right.
And his motto was, you don't have to boast about it, just get it done. So that's what I do.
Salute to Sal. What's his last name?
Sal Fisher.
Sal Fisher. Salute to you, Sal Fisher, wherever you are in this world. Definitely. So, different time. Like, was there Were there black and white water fountains in your school?
No, no. DeWitt Clinton, I mean, there was prejudice in the school, but it wasn't overt.
Okay.
We could drink from the same water fountain because we was all boys. But when it came time for discipline, now there was two types of justice. We had black justice and we had white justice. White justice, you know how that goes. They get off of just about anything. And when it came time to black justice, we had our parents come in and, you know, they souped it up. Yeah, you got to do this. Oh, we're going to suspend them. And, you know, but, you know, coach always told us, you let your grades speak for you.
Right.
You know, so once your grades spoke and your grades was, you know, decent, they wouldn't bother you.
Well, I found out, you know, through my years of teaching special ed, that special ed came about as a compromise to letting black people into the schools. And this way they can justify separating us and putting us into these programs, and people accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy time.
And they put the money value to it too,
Yeah.
because once the government were giving money to have your kid be special needs, parents in need of money, in need of income, you know, they put the label on it.
Yeah,
you know, I
man.
gotta get this money. So being that, and case in point, Shatik, you know him well. I had him when he was at the other school,
Right.
in Elma, and he was a kid that his father wasn't around, his brother was a gangster, and his mama worked for transit. So when I had him, he was a hellraiser. But I tamed him, and I told him, you know, you can do better than what you're doing. You can get more out of life if you learn how to use your head. And I became a father figure to him. And
He was a good
I
kid.
told him, you know, he was averaging D's and F's. And I told him, if you want to be somebody, you got to get those grades up. And I put a challenge to him. I told him, if you can give me A's and B's for the remainder of your school year, I got a pair of Jordans waiting on you. And he turned his life around. He got those A's and B's. And when he graduated, when he got on my bus, that box was waiting for him.
Look at that. Salute to Shatik, man. Good, great kid, man. He just need to find his way and stick to it. Yep.
They all do.
Yeah.
They all do.
Definitely.
But they need somebody to take an interest in him.
Yes. Most definitely. And salute to you too, man. Because you didn't have to do that.
Thank you.
Yep. So, who are some of the guys that you played with? Now, I interviewed Julius Allen already.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he went to Clinton. I don't know if you guys went to there at the same time.
No, he came after me.
Right. So, who were some of the guys that you played with?
Well, I can't even remember most of them, but Ron Hagen came up after me. I played, you know, varsity ball with him. I would go in while he was redshirted because he was kind of awkward when he first came in.
Okay.
He's one that had to learn the techniques of the game in order to be great at the game.
Right.
So I would go and scrimmage with him and shoot the jump shots because he was tall.
Right.
And his thing was he couldn't block a shot. He had to learn. And I was the guinea pig.
Right,
I would shoot it so he could block it. So I played with him. I played, like I said, I played with Tiny's brother. I played with
What year did Tiny come?
Tiny came, he came 4 years before me. I played behind Tiny in 67 and 68.
Wow. So he played more than 1 year at high school.
Yeah, well, he played the last year because I was having problems with his grades.
Oh.
So he was intermittent. You know, he was intermittent as a player where, you know, they told him you got to get your grades up. And he was in tutoring class and he got his grades up and he played. And then, you know, he went to El Paso.
Texas El Paso, yeah.
Texas El Paso. And from there, he went to the Kings.
Yeah, and became a legend. Top 50 players of all time.
Yes.
Yes, and I consider him the best point guard to ever come out of New York City.
Yes, absolutely.
Because he can do both, not just one thing. Right? And he led the league in points and assists No point
Yes.
guard has ever done that.
Absolutely.
No.
Yeah, he was a talent. He was a talent.
Now, the article that I sent you, the picture that I sent you, that was about the Boys and Girls Lafayette game that canceled the 1967 playoffs. Do you remember what happened?
No.
Okay.
Not too much. Fill me in.
Well, the article said that there was a discrepancy to where Boys High and Lafayette was going to play their game. They couldn't decide where to play. So the PSAL stepped in and kind of canceled the whole season, and you guys was caught in the middle because it was looking like you guys was going to meet up with Boys and Girls in the city championship.
Yeah, I remember that. The circumstances as to why the discrepancy came, they didn't let the kids know at all because they knew that it could affect the outcome of the game if we went in and we had our heads focused on something other than the game.
Yo, and you can't tell me there's no conspiracy behind that. And go ahead, finish talking because I want to break some notes down to you.
Well, like I was looking forward to playing, but in PSAL, there's politics.
That's what the P stands for in PSAL. Because look,
politics.
All the championships that you guys won, they didn't start having state championships until 1979. Right? And in 1979, you had a St. Anthony's from South Huntington won the AA, the AAA, Nazareth and Brooklyn won the AA, St. Agnes won the A, and Bishop Newman won the B, all in 1979. Check this out. All of those schools are Catholic schools.
Well, you know what that was about. That was trying to get us in there.
Oh, man. Then it's like Catholic, upstate Catholic. Then in 1982, Benjamin Franklin come along and smacks everybody. And now you get our first PSAL state champion in 1982. You guys are not even in the runnings anymore because y'all dominated in such a different era.
Yes.
Okay, I digress. We are definitely more. Who was the head coach? His name was Hank. What was his last name?
I can't even remember this. I remember his first name because that's all we call him.
Hank, right? Ah, man.
Yeah.
And that's only kind of mentioned him in the article, but I'll get back to that as well. Who was your guys' toughest competition?
You talking about within the Bronx or the toughest school we ever
Period.
faced? I would have to say, at the time, Columbus.
Really?
Yeah. They had a pretty good squad. The only thing they lacked was a dominant center. That's the only thing they lacked.
So they put pressure on you guys. They must have had some hell of a guards.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many guys was on that team, yo? It seemed like y'all had about 40 guys on that team.
No, at the time you had two sets of 10, 20. But like I said, guys was having difficulty with maintaining their grades. So, they had to replace them, Did
you guys have JV?
That first squad was always,
Did you guys have JV back then?
Yeah, we had red shirts. Yeah, we had JV.
Wow. So this is crazy. He called them red shirts. Whole different kind of language now, man. Because I looked at Alexander Hamilton team, 1981, 82. They had 24 guys on their team. And people don't realize the reason why you have so many guys on the team and what's so successful and winning so many city championships, you guys and boys and girls was an all-boys school.
Correct.
So all the boys in the neighborhood had to go to that school. So you had to pick of the litter.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all could have seen.
Well, a lot of the guys, the reputation of DeWitt Clinton was out there. Everybody, that was anybody, wanted to come to DeWitt Clinton. They didn't mind the fact that it was all boys, and there was an advantage to being all boys because we had Walton High School next to us, which was all girls.
Walton was all girls. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Walton was all girls at one point.
So I know when you guys was at lunchtime.
That's right. And the issue was maintaining your distance, social distancing.
y'all was having a problem with social distancing back then.
Yes, that's right. We couldn't go on there in their rec yard, and DeWitt Clinton, you had to cross Meshulah Parkway, which was full of traffic, to even get to Walton.
So that's like the video game Frogger, just dodging the traffic. Can imagine how
that's it. So the biggest challenges that we faced then was keeping out of Walton's backyard,
Okay. So let's talk about the best game you ever had. Now I'm talking about whether it's high school, whether it's at Millbank, whether it's a summer tournament, whether it's at Megar Evers. What was the best game that you felt like all the lights was on and you couldn't miss, and everybody was just feeding you the ball because they wanted you to get off?
Well, I remember Eastside Houses ran a tournament, and we played at Mitchell Houses and Mitchell Gym, and it was an all-star game. In fact, I can remember the year. It was 1968.
Woo!
And
Jesus Christ!
We played other project basketball teams. We played Patterson, we played Mount Haven, we played Mitchell Houses, we played Castle Hill. We played most of them. And when we came and we did work, and we made the all-star team, and I was, starting guard, and I hit 22 that day.
Woo!
Never forget, 22. And back then they didn't give trophies; they gave medals.
Yes.
So, I got my MVP medal, and, I was happy to get it.
It's crazy how the different times, because medals was big in your times, and then come to our era, trophies was everything. Like, I have medals for like Empire State games, Big Apple games, and things of that nature, which, I still have to this day. But the medals was such a prideful thing, to have that around your neck, and they only gave it to you. Everybody didn't get one. It wasn't like a participation.
That's right. You had to earn that, and you had to involve your teammates because they wanted to see your all-round game. They knew that in your all-star game you was going to get your ball hogs and whatever. But back then they were looking for somebody who had a complete game, and my game was pretty fierce back then, and I was lucky enough to take the award.
Salute to you, man. Congrats. What made you go to Megar Evers?
Well, I had two choices. Megar Evers, when they started in its inception, was supposed to be the nuance of Black education.
Nice, yeah.
And I wanted to be a part of that. And I had a choice between Megar Evers and Hunter College. And I chose Megar Evers because it was the newness. And I wanted to make Megar Evers proud, to be the first one in the inception process, and to go to the school and put it on the map. And they would, scholastically, they were, getting the curriculum together and everything like that. And when they put the basketball team together, it was an inception stage. So it wasn't about, big lights and stuff like that. We barely had a full-size court gym, but we made a lot of enemies because the guys that I played with we gelled as a unit, and we finished second in the divisions.
Oh, okay. Was there a lot of Brooklyn guys on that team?
Yes, yes. Brooklyn. In fact, there was one guy named Ernie Davis that came, and he played basketball and played 1 year. I don't know what happened to him after that, but he was the closest thing to Tiny Archibald.
Wow.
He had a sweet left-hand jump shot too.
And there's so many ball players back then who are great, who people, won't even mention to this day. And it's sad because they're going to miss out on history, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we kind of got to reach back and see who is those pieces. And it's cool to get the star players. I'm all with that. But there were guys that made these stars a lot better. And we all saw Jordan, at least through my era, I saw Jordan be dominant and the best scorer, but don't win any games or win any championships. And not till he got a team around him. And I'm quite sure you saw that with Wilt Chamberlain.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Dominant scorer, averaging 50 and 25,
no championships.
But not with no championships.
Right. He didn't get one till he went to the Lakers.
And built the team around him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Jerry West was on that team, correct?
Yes, he was.
yes, for sure.
Yes, he was.
For sure.
My namesake was there.
That's right. So I speak to a lot of guys about their transition from basketball into the real world, right? Spoke to Ron Strickland about that. He said, even though he spent 17 years in the NBA, it was difficult for him to make that transition. We would say, how, Ron? Like, you had so many doors out. He was like, bro, it's the same all over, right? You got to start all over again. And since I played basketball all my life, it was what is going to be next. And luckily, he's have a lot of good connections, and he was able to get into college basketball early when a lot of guys in the NBA wasn't going to the college level.
Right.
And he got in early, and a lot of guys kind of followed his suit after that.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's
college
running the G League.
Necessary. Yeah. Well, the developmental league, it helps a lot of ball players tune up their game. But I would prefer that kids go to college because life goes on past basketball.
Yes.
And in college, you get that socialization process that comes in handy when you go into the NBA. Because remember, very few people make the NBA.
Very few.
So you gotta have a backup. And I've seen a lot of players come out of the NBA and fall by the wayside.
Yes.
And I try to tell people in college, kids, get a second career and a B plan because you're not guaranteed to get in the NBA. And when you get in there, if you're lucky enough to get in there, you got to watch all the sharks, female
so
sharks.
You might not stay. You might not stay. You'll be here today, going tomorrow.
Yes.
Grand opening, grand closing.
Right. And if you don't have a good social protective team around you that will, take your interests first and point you in, things that's going to enhance your career, enhance your marketability, you won't make it in the NBA past 3 years. Because all you got to do is to sustain an injury, and your contract is done. So
true. So how was the transition from Megar Evans to the real world? What did you do after you left Megar?
Well, when I left Megar Evans, I got into community work. I worked with Urban Strategies, Goodwill Industries. I worked with Canva, and I did that 25 years.
Wow.
And I still do that with my company. Me and my wife, we got an organization called Just Because. And we go around feeding the homeless, people in need, and we provide them with food, quality food that you would want to sit at the table and eat. Not the stuff that they be giving out with, boxed macaroni and stuff like that. We give quality food. We also, we're preparing for our Christmas drive where we're going to be giving coats and, gloves and what is it? The undergarments, the thermal underwears, and things like that to people in need.
Well, I got some coats for you, brother. And
Oh,
you
good,
know,
good.
and if you guys come into the city, you guys feeding anyone, just let me know, man. I'll come and provide my services, man, for sure. Because I think that's a
Good,
great
good,
thing.
good.
And salute to you and your wife, man. Awesome job,
Thank you, thank you.
no doubt. So I just want to touch on a few things. You mentioned
Okay.
some of the programs that the city had that you kind of benefited from. What were some of those programs that you benefited from that the city had that no longer are around?
Well, there's only one left that I know of, and that's PAL, Police Athletic League. They did a lot in molding me and shaping me into the person that I am today. We have East Side housing development that each of the projects are supposed to have in place to provide social services, community services within the community for the youth. But I understand that the economic situation, they're not at full strength, but we need to, and this is where I kind of get angry with the celebrities because they come out of these hoods.
Yes.
And we support them in their music and whatever. And I've been, asking them to, give back, start a community center, a computer program center, donate something so that it will enhance the people coming up, keeping them off the streets, because I don't want our young people to become statistics.
Yeah, I think a lot of them, once they reach a certain level, are told not to go back. And it's sad, but it's very true. So it's why, got my guy, Ricky Rivers, on here who do a major job with the kids down at Funksport. Guys like him, Ray Haskins, Ron Phelps during high school. There's so many people that we have at our disposal that are doing great things for our kids in the community. And I just think it just takes a few more people to step up and become leaders, because they kind of place our leaders and give us our leaders instead of us creating our own.
Right, right. And we have to start from within. We can't rely on other people to build us up because they're only going to take us to a certain level. And when we get overpopularized, then they're going to work to tear us down. So, we have to start embracing our own and developing our own and promoting our own. And we can do that, economically. We got to do it educationally. We even got to do it socially, because I don't like the idea that brothers don't say hello to other brothers when they're in the street. It's like, the N-word, and I'm not with that. I grew up at a time where if I saw a friend, I hugged him. And if he needed something or he needed a drink or a honey bun or whatever, he had it. And I want those times to come back where we can be our brother's keeper and look out, because we don't have enough of that.
Yeah, I think the media and what's going on in the world has done such a good job at making the black face the enemy. A lot of times when we looking at another black person, we're seeing disdain. We're seeing the N-word, right? Because it's easy to pull a gun and go, I'm going to kill you, nigga. Then go, I'm going to kill you, brother. You start to think now. The whole language is changing now.
Absolutely.
Right? So if I'm referring to you as a nigga or whatever, the N-word, whatever they want to say, people is less than human.
Right.
Whereas I'm calling you my brother, right? If I'm saying you my brother, it means a little bit more.
Right.
So I think once we start to love ourselves, we can look in the mirror and look at somebody else and see love as well.
Right, right. And, it starts from the home. If you have parents, even single parent, both parents in the home, uncles, brothers and sisters. You got to have that love from within, and you got to promote that, from within the family, so that when you go outside the family, your energy will attract what you put out.
Definitely. Definitely. Well, I have a question for you. This is not part of your era, so I don't expect you to be perfect on it. They have a thing where basketball players are reclassing, right? So you can get left back on purpose to have a better chance to be a better basketball player, or some kids reclass up, like get skipped, so they can graduate early.
Well, I'm from the old school. You got to earn it. I'm not going to give it to you. If I believe that when you go to school, you're supposed to do your homework. You're supposed to come home with books. I don't see these kids coming home with books, minority kids. I see the Asian kids come home with tons of books. I see the Jewish people come home with tons of books, and the school will provide that. I don't see our schools providing that, and the teachers, they got to have a better attitude too, the environment that you're working in. So you should be more understanding of it and do more of the building of that personality and that individual, so that he can be better than what he imagined himself to be, and we don't have enough of that one-on-one, interest, and they need to cut the class size down.
Yeah, for sure, because when I went to school, man, it was like 35, 40 of us in one classroom. It's like, how did we learn? And then I went to prep school in Maine, and my prep school cost $54,000 a year to go to, okay? There were 12 kids in the classroom, no more than that. And that was the first time that I was able to get a quality education and focus. Yes.
Yeah, you need that. That whole educational restructuring needs to be happening, because, believe it or not, when I was taking the kids to the other school, John offered me a job when he saw how the improvement that Shatik had made. And he asked me how I did it. And I tell him I don't teach the conformative education.
That's right.
I don't want my kid looking at the back of the head of another kid. I'll put my class in a circle, because the energy flows better. And I never let them assign a seat.
Yeah.
Every day you sat somewhere else, because I want you to be uncomfortable, because it put you on your guard and made you susceptible to what I had to say. And I used that, I taught history. So, and I taught at one of the worst places, and that's Westinghouse.
In Brooklyn.
And in Brooklyn, right. And I had a principal, John Rappaport, I never forget. When he walked in my classroom and saw how I had set it up, he asked me what was I doing. I said, I'm getting ready to teach class. He said, well, are you going to follow the curriculum? I said, yeah, but I'm going to do it in reverse, because I believe history starts from now and work your way back. And if you're going to hold the kids' interest, they don't want to know about George Washington up front. They want to know about the relevant stuff and work back. So that's how I did. And I used film. I did drama, all in that class. And by the time I got done, I had other teachers looking through the door to find out why the kid didn't want to leave my class to go to the next one.
Yeah. I taught history as well, man. I know when you look at history, and I always tell people, when you learning about American history, flip it. So if you're learning it this way, flip it, and you'll find out the truth. So if you keep looking at it like this, you're not going to find it.
That's right. That's right.
Well, my brother, we come to that time where you have to nominate someone to be on the show. I'm not going to say now. I want you to think about it really long and hard. I'm really working on trying to get Tiny. I got a lot of people working on it. I know you're a hard man to get. Hopefully one day we can get him before he leaves this earth, because I think that will be important. But you think about this, AJ, right? And before you leave, how we doing over there, bro?
Like 3 more minutes.
Okay. I got something for you, and I'm giving it to you tomorrow, brother.
All right.
And I just want to say this, man. meeting you and knowing you for a couple of years and talking to you. I just always had a lot of respect for you, brother. Very knowledgeable, very open-minded, willing to listen. Even when this young guy goes in his rants and talking about the world, you pay attention and let me have my space, man. And I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you being an OG, giving the knowledge, helping the kids, and just being a true, real man that made an impact in people's lives. So I want to say thank you. And it means a lot to me that I can interview you on my show, man. It means a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No doubt, man. So, top 5 basketball players in New York City history.
All right, Lou Alcindor.
Hold on. Y'all hear that? He didn't even call him Kareem. He called him Lou Alcindor. My God, go back.
I knew him as a kid.
Yeah.
I knew him before he became who he became. He was a scrawny little 7'1" kid.
You knew him?
No, yeah, I knew him.
Wow.
Yeah. We used to play on the playgrounds of Rice High School.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's the first.
The first person that I know who ever knew Lou Alcindor as Lou Alcindor. Yeah.
Yes.
First on Basketball Heads. That's awesome. All right. 4 more.
Okay. I liked, well, I said Tiny.
Yeah, that's true.
I like Rod.
Ron Strickland?
Rod Strickland. I like him.
Hold on.
And I like him.
Ron gonna love that. He watches the show all the time. And knowing, OG is giving it up? Definitely.
Yeah, I like Rod Strickland because I liked his ball handling prowess.
Wow.
So I liked that. And I like Pearl.
Pearl Washington, make some noise for that.
Pearl Washington. Yeah. I liked him. And who else? Willie Worsley.
Willie Worsley. I seen his name on on an all city list. Where did he play? He played that
DeWitt Clinton.
Oh,
yeah, he played the DeWitt Clinton.
He played on that Texas A&M team.
Yes, he did.
Was that your guy? Was that your guy? Who's just somebody that you knew?
I knew him in passing. We played in the gym. But he hung out differently, and I hung out where I hung out.
Wow.
But it was I would leave my calling card if they said, "Oh, we're gonna play in Melrose." I went to Melrose.
Wow. That's an awesome 5 right there, man.
Yeah, that's my 5.
Hey, listen, I respect that 5, man. My 5 was Kareem, Chris Mullin, Tiny, Connie Hawkins, and Rolando Blackman. Now, I picked my team based on how they would gel together. I didn't pick them all just picking all scorers. Because I'm thinking about winning. Okay? So,
well, see, if you're going to win, you got to have a facilitator.
Yes.
So I'm thinking along as facilitator, being that I was one.
Yes.
It was our job to make sure the big man had the ball where he needed it.
And the big man gets in trouble, he can always kick it out to Chris Mullin, or he can give it to Connie Hawkins slashing. We gonna make it happen. Throw it out to Roe. We good.
That's right.
And nobody will mention Rolando Blackman besides me and Coach Gustus, because that's one of his former players. But definitely respect that, man. So, Mel, you ready? Yo, bro, we got it. Yeah, we got it. There we go, baby. Because we're already at that point. Right? I got a frustrated artist behind me. Right? So This one like, yo, can you stop rushing me, fam? Doing mad subs. I don't know. I just want to know, fam. We finish here. Let me just do some promotion real quick. We still are sponsored by Game Over. My guy, Eric Hicks at Game Over. We got our own trophy. This is his own trophy that he came up with. He patented his trophy. So you get a lot of people in New York City is giving away these trophies. They get them from Eric Hicks. This is our sponsor. At Basketball Heads. Yes. I'm still waiting for my guy Delbert Prince to get up here. He wrote the history of Coney Island basketball. He sent me 2 copies, 1980s to 1990s and 1970s to 1980s. And then we have
history right there.
Allen Houston book, The Fundamentals of Life. And all these books were are sent by me, and we kind of promote it. Because I still read to this day, man. Listen, reading is fundamental. You learn a lot.
That's right.
Trust me. And the reason why they put the books in the library, because that's where the lies are buried. So you got to go dig them out and kind of figure out and find out where your truth is.
That's right. Absolutely.
For sure. Well, he got to thank you. I appreciate that, man.
Ready.
All right.
Yeah. You
All right.
So this is you, right?
Yeah, that's me.
That's my man right here, right there.
Thank you. That's nice.
I got this for you tomorrow, fam.
Frame that.
That's what we do for our guests, man. Thank my artist, Jamel Powell, artist extraordinaire. He's the one that MVP with me some years ago as well.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and he's a former ball player, too.
Oh,
so
I see he's left-handed.
Well, he's actually right-handed. It looks left-handed because they're in the screen. Right. So.
Tell him I said thank you.
No problem, brother. You will be getting yours tomorrow. All right?
Thank you. All right.
We're going to need that little plug, that little basketball head shout out, too. So I'll see you tomorrow, my brother. Thank you, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. All right. I love you,
Love
man.
you, too, brother.
Talk to you later.
All right.